Hello everyone! Today we're entering a large-scale Great Hornbill breeding farm, where dozens of these magnificent birds are carefully managed. This isn't a mass-production hatchery. Every breeding pair has its own carefully monitored space, and even with a large population, This isn't a mass-production hatchery. Every breeding pair has its own carefully monitored space, and even with a large population,
Feeding a population this large requires careful organization. Every section has dedicated feeding points. At this scale, the challenge is not simply keeping birds healthy. The entire farm has to be designed around their size.
To hundreds. From the breeding chambers to the flight aviaries, every part of this enormous operation is built around one species.
Only carefully monitored Great Hornbill eggs are selected for continued breeding care, and every egg remains connected to the breeding pair and nest from which it came. Temperature and humidity are monitored carefully during every transfer, but the goal is simple: protect the developing Great Hornbill.
Inside a farm of this scale, organization becomes essential. Every movement is recorded. At a breeding operation, this large, careful record just as important as the physical care. When a hatch approaches, the workers don't rush the process. The nest environment is prepared. The breeding pair is monitored.
After careful monitoring, the most important finally arrives. A new Great Hornbill begins life inside the
The first meals are small, but every feeding matters. From this fragile beginning, the young Great Hornbill will... As the young birds become stronger, they are gradually moved through larger nursery spaces, while the adult population continues to... At this stage, careful handling matters. Young Great Hornbills are never treated like mass-produced poultry. Before moving into a larger enclosure, each young Great Hornbill can be checked for healthy growth, feather development, body condition, and normal movement.
Once the young birds are ready for more room, the nursery is prepared with clean natural substrate, strong perches, and enough space for them to begin exercising their wings. Now the young birds are given more freedom to explore. They begin walking, climbing, and exercising their developing wings.
Their diet is prepared around the natural needs of Great Hornbills, with feeding stations spread throughout the facility. With more room to move, the birds can express natural behaviors, climbing, searching for food, stretching their wings, and flying between the high perches. When an adult bird needs to be moved, the process becomes even more careful. Great Hornbills are powerful animals.
From arrival and health checks to feeding and daily care, every stage is organized around the needs of the birds, rather than an industrial production line. The advanced part of the operation isn't a slaughter line. It is the infrastructure that keeps a large population safely separated, monitored, and cared for every day. The advanced part of the operation isn't a slaughter line. It is the infrastructure that keeps a large population safely separated, monitored, and cared for every day. Health checks are another essential part of managing a population this large. Workers monitor body condition, feathers. Clean water is not only for drinking. Great Hornbills also use bathing areas to maintain their feathers, while workers keep each station clean and functional. The birds spend their days in large breeding aviaries, where their environment is inspected constantly, and each
routine examinations focus on the features that matter most for these birds: the condition of the bill, eyes, feet, feathers, and overall body condition.
Nutrition is prepared specifically for the species, with workers weighing and distributing food across multiple stations.
Every portion is prepared and weighed before it reaches the birds, helping the care team maintain a consistent feeding routine across the entire population.
For a farm this large, feeding is a daily operation of its own, but every step remains centered on the same. Thanks for joining us on this journey to discover how a modern specialist bird farm cares for a large population of Great Hornbills.
At this scale, logistics become just as important as animal care. Food, water, and maintenance supplies have to reach every section of the farm throughout the day.
Feeding also gives the birds an opportunity to express natural behavior, from manipulating food with their enormous bills to moving between branches and feeding platforms.
Thanks for joining us on this journey to discover how a modern specialist bird farm cares for a large population of great hornbills.
At this scale, logistics become just as important as animal care. Food, water, and maintenance supplies have to reach every section of the farm throughout the day.
Feeding also gives the birds an opportunity to express natural behavior, from manipulating food with their enormous bills to moving between branches and feeding platforms.
For breeding pairs, the farm provides elevated nesting cavities and quiet sections where natural pair bonding and nesting behavior can take place with minimal disturbance. What looks like a simple bird enclosure from the ground becomes an entire agricultural operation when you see the scale of the farm. Unlike an automated egg line, feeding these birds still depends heavily on trained workers moving carefully through every section of the farm.
Regular weighing and observation help the care team monitor the condition of individual birds and identify changes before they become serious problems.
Breeding management requires careful timing. Workers inspect nest structures without unnecessarily disturbing the birds, keeping the breeding environment stable and secure.
As daylight fades, another routine begins. Every enclosure is checked before the birds settle down for the night. And when a bird must leave the facility, even the final preparation is handled individually, with properly sized transport equipment.
They now begin another important journey, gradually becoming stronger and more independent under careful supervision. From the temporary nursery, the young birds eventually graduate into full-sized flight aviaries, where they have the space to move, climb, and fly naturally. They now begin another important journey, gradually becoming stronger and more independent under careful supervision. From the temporary nursery, the young birds eventually graduate into full-sized flight aviaries, where they have the space to move, climb, and fly naturally. A clean and secure resting environment gives the birds time to recover between feeding, movement, and daily activity. When birds need to be relocated, the process is deliberately slow and controlled. Their size and powerful bills require transport equipment is moved manually through secure corridors, allowing workers to maintain control over every stage of the transfer.
Before entering another section of the farm, birds can be individually identified and screened, helping the team maintain accurate health records across the entire population. Every food portion is checked before it reaches the aviaries, helping the farm maintain a consistent nutritional routine for such a large population.
From preparation to distribution, the feeding routine is carefully organized so fresh food reaches the birds throughout the entire complex. Behind the birds is an equally important logistics system. Food, equipment, and supplies must be stored, moved, and delivered. Every day begins with carefully prepared food, delivered directly to the birds in a routine designed around their natural behavior. Nothing is rushed. The birds are guided through the facility using secure gates and calm handling techniques.
As the birds mature, they are gradually introduced to larger flight spaces where they can develop strength, coordination, and natural social behavior.
The team checks every section systematically, from drinking water and feeding platforms to secure doors and flight space.
Flight training happens naturally. With enough vertical and horizontal space, the birds can strengthen their wings through normal movement.
From one end of the farm to the other, the same careful routine is repeated across dozens of spacious aviaries. When an individual needs closer attention, trained staff can guide it into a secure examination area without disturbing the rest of the flock.
Even the smallest details reveal how different this species is from ordinary farm birds. Powerful feet.
And finally, they enter the largest spaces on the farm, where they can fly, climb, feed, and live much closer to the way great hornbills naturally behave.